hello, and thanks for watching another episode of News of the Pews, where you can count on unapologetic 2A advocacy. Gun rights are human rights. And, as a reminder, human rights were granted by the almighty author of the universe, not by earthly governments. But just as men reject the Creator's authority in our personal lives, they also reject his authority over nations, and they impose all manner of unjust laws to exert their power over less privileged people. Like the Australian laws requiring people to grovel before the Crown to get permission to even own a gun. As unjust as those laws are, they are at least ostensibly intended to protect the public from dangerous people, though. Now, to be sure, you and I and every other thinking person know that is an utterly impossible task, but that's at least the excuse they use. To that end, you would expect them to deny gun licenses to people with a history of violence or diagnosed mental illness, but a Queensland tribunal just revoked the firearms license of one man because of his former political beliefs. You see, several years ago, Kent Jenkinson got ticketed for driving around with an invalid registration tag. He gave the same typical story you hear from sovereign citizens here in the States. Police are private security guards for the Queensland Treasury Corporation and that they have no legal authority. He registered his car with the Pope, and his personal title is Your Serene Highness. Since then, he seems to have come to the realization that sometimes people say things on the internet that aren't true, and he has resiled from his views. In related news, I learned a new word today. He went and got himself a proper registration tag for his pickup, and he cut ties with the group where he picked up these ideas. The government says, the public does not want people with sovereign citizenship ideologies to have possession of a weapon because they do not recognize authority or the laws of the state. This reasoning falls flat on its face because the entire world knows authorities in Oz are perfectly willing to issue gun licenses to Muslims. But it's also stupid because he renounced those views. Like, he's not a sovereign citizen anymore. People should not be deprived of their fundamental rights for their current political beliefs, let alone their past beliefs. But hey, it would be impossible for me to produce quality 2A propaganda without you. That's right. I don't have any sponsors, so I literally could not make this content without your support. So if you happen to be in a comfortable place in life, please consider supporting this channel by purchasing one of these radical t-shirts for just $15, or by donating at the links down there in the doobly-doo, and of course right here. Patreon supporters get to see scripts and videos early, as well as private Discord access. If you're not in a comfortable place though, remember, you don't owe anyone else a thing. Please enjoy this 2A propaganda at the price of free $99 and continue to pray for us. I may have ruffled some feathers from time to time with my semi-serious legal theory that, strictly speaking, the Second Amendment only protects military arms. Some sporting firearms might not be explicitly protected by the Second Amendment. So if you're going like, huh, right now,
I'd say, huh, too.
Allow me to explain. I'm sure you will agree the Second Amendment was intended to protect the people's ability to form competent fighting forces without any help or consent from the government. It says, paraphrasing for the time, that a well-trained and properly equipped militia is necessary to the security of a free state. That means it protects the individual right to own military weapons. So arguably, an 81mm mortar is protected by the Second Amendment because it is well suited to modern infantry combat. Whereas an Anschutz 22 LR single-shot competition pistol or a 32 auto pocket pistol would be nearly useless in warfare. I used to argue that long barrel hunting and sporting shotguns wouldn't be useful in warfare, but, well, still, most 22 caliber and 410 bore hunting and youth guns are arguably not protected by the Second Amendment. It's a goofy technical argument, and it's not like anybody would. Well, the whole civilian disarmament industrial complex got together and filed a brief in Brown versus ATF claiming the Second Amendment only protects arms in common use for self-defense, drawing language from the Bruin and Heller Supreme Court rulings. The problem is, in both cases, the language was actually in common use for lawful purposes, like self-defense. Imagine I said the First Amendment protects religious texts like the Bible, and some lawyer came along later trying to claim that meant it was perfectly legal to ban the Talmud. Now, I think what was really happening here is the court was just trying to spin air into gold, and they just didn't want to come to terms with the fact that the plain text of the 2A says we can order 240 Bravos to our door if we've got the eddies. But even within the hamstrung interpretation the court used in Heller and Bruin, they absolutely did not say self-defense was the only category that was protected. Now, I'm not a lawyer because I can count to 10 with my boots on, but I don't think this argument is particularly compelling. What do you folks think? Comment below. The new improved 100% Bondi-free Department of Justice is really surprising me in good ways almost every day now. Despite pressure from control freaks over that nutter at the hotel with the president's dinner, the DOJ just dropped a press release announcing more than 30 proposed or final rule changes that are intended to walk back some of the more troublesome regulatory nonsense for gun owners. The acting attorney general said the AG is ending the weaponization of federal authority against law-abiding gun owners. Yeah, well, we'll see about that. But this is supposed to walk back the backdoor universal background check they tried to sneak in during the Biden regime, where they published strict yet vague guidelines on what they believed it meant to be engaged in the business. And then they admitted openly that even a single firearm sale at a loss might cause a person to be considered to be engaged in the business. The rules are still going to be stupidly strict, thanks to the Bipartisan Gun Control Act of 2022 brought to us by Senators Cornyn and Tillis. Thanks, dicks. But it sounds like things will be at least marginally better with Bondi out of office. I am cautiously optimistic, but I'd like to hear your opinions on it. Get this. The state of New York just said, body armor has a propensity to terrify the public. And it is not commonly used for self-defense. Oh, and it's also not an arm, so it's not protected by the Second Amendment anyway. This is the position they are officially taking to defend their body armor ban because, of course, that disgusting actual garbage pile has a body armor ban. But the Firearm Policy Coalition is suing them to get rid of that ban. So you know what I'm going to say next, right? I take every chance I get to shill for gun rights organizations for free, and this is no exception. A smart guy once said the price of liberty is eternal vigilance, and that doesn't mean scanning the horizon for the next Mussolini. Well, it means that too, but it's mostly participating in the relentless, cyclical, adversarial system that a free society is. Freedom isn't just being allowed to do anything you want, not with other people around. Society is a constant push and pull of the needs and desires of others, and a free society argues, debates, and amicably wrestles about what is best for all and for the individual. It's messy and often ugly and infuriatingly slow, but it's necessary, and it takes a lot of people pulling on a lot of ropes to affect change. So before you pinch off that poo and try to slip past the boss like you haven't been gone for 20 minutes, please take a sec to go to firearmspolicy.org/donate and flip them some quatloos. Come on, you were just gonna spend that money on overpriced hockey tape anyway, weren't you? Well, folks, round's complete on 2, but before I go, your moment of completion. I love you.
3, 2, 1. No, good Lord. Oh!